Hello, everybody. It's Trish Carr from Women's Prosperity Network, and I'm so glad that you're here today. Go ahead and get comfortable. We're going to be together about 15 minutes, so chill, get yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a cup of water, whatever it is you want to have your beverage, and just relax for the next 15 minutes because we're on our way to the Be Real, Get Real show. And the Be Real, Get Real show is all about hearing from real people who are in business and getting to know each other better. Because in reality, we do business with people. We don't do business with businesses. So it's about getting to know each other. And the more we know each other, the more we like each other, the more we can trust each other. And relationships and nurturing them are the most important thing in life and in business. So you see that little share button? I got one request, that little share button down there. If you would, go ahead and click on share and save this and show this to your tribe and your people, because our conversation is going to be very special today. And as we get into it, one of the phrases I hear people say all the time is, when things settle down, I'm going to do this. Or I just got to wait until things settle down and then everything will be okay. And one of the things I've learned, and you probably know this too, is things really don't settle down for very long. Life is a roller coaster. So we're going to be going up sometimes and we're going to be at the top, and then sometimes we're going to come down and life is going to get a little messy and then we're going to have to deal with it again. So the key to a happy, healthy, wonderful life is learning how to be resilient. And that's exactly what my guest today has experienced over and over again, is how to use her resilience and how to build it up. And let me tell you a little bit about her before I bring her on. And she, unbelievable. Wait to hear about her. She was, very much like me and very much like many of you. She worked in corporate America for a long time. First at IBM, where you can't be any more corporate than IBM, right? Everybody was all buttoned up and in suits and stuff. And things changed in her life. She ended up at Lockheed Martin, which is the aircraft crew, the people who make airplanes. They too were very corporate. And then things changed for her. Pat Alva Craker has such an interesting story over the last several years of how she was resilient. And I really want to bring her on and have her share with you reinvention. Now, let me first tell you that Pat right now works in a fantastic, she gets to tap into her talents and her skills now in her very own business, Majestic Coaching Group, where she works with people so they build resistance, and in fact, they build a business that is successful. So we'll get into that as well. So let me welcome Pat Alva Craker to the show. Pat, welcome. So glad you're here.
Hey, hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning. And Pat's coming to us from near Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes.
Yes, a good place to be, especially in the winter when it's cold everywhere else. So wonderful.
For sure.
So, yeah. So, the first thing that grabbed my attention when we were talking was that, first of all, you grew up in this corporate environment and you had a lot of success at IBM, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened? How is it you left IBM and went to Lockheed?
Yeah, it's a good question. I appreciate that. I loved my career at IBM. I started as a system engineer and a project manager, and I was part of a major layoff. I was really close to my 25 years with the company, and I just was caught in that period of time where they were bringing in a lot of subject matter experts from other companies, and I was one of the numbers of the people that were laid off. And I tell you, at 22 years, I thought that this was going to be the company I was going to stay with. Right? I was of the culture that when you hired onto a company, you were with that company forever. You can relate to that because we're around the same age, and you just retired.
100%.
You got the ring, you got the clock, you got whatever, and you were going to retire. And I had that is the lifestyle and the mindset um, that I had. And then when it happened, I was so devastated. I'm like, really? Oh my God. Uh, it teaches you, what I learned is that, and layoffs happen more and more now, is that I'm just one of the numbers and not to take it personally and how to get past that sorrow of, wow, I thought I was going to be here all my life.
Yeah.
And there's got to be something better. And where I ended up as the next step was this something better. And I say that because I used to travel 80% of the time. And
Wow.
you know how old that gets.
Yes, I was traveling about 50% of the time, and it
Oh
was
my
old
God.
for me.
It got old, and I enjoyed what I was doing, but 80% after a while, you don't have a life, you don't spend time with your family, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up with Lockheed Martin Aeronautics, and there was no travel. And I'm like, ooh, I feel like I got my life back. I'm like, okay, universe, this is good. I can step into this, and everything always works out for me. And that's the mentality that I embraced in this shift uh, to a better place. So it turned out to be really, at the end, it worked out really well for me.
Well, and I hold on to that everything always works out for me
Hmm.
mentality as well.
Hmm.
And I still have my moments, right? So
Yeah.
when you were laid off, I don't know, did you, if you, I lived through layoffs as well.
Hmm.
And for me, I didn't want to stay because all my mentors were gone. So I literally became a number. And they
Hmm.
were just plugging me into the next job instead of
Yeah.
plugging me into what I love to do and that I'm really good at. So
Yep.
I chose to leave and I still had I'm always taken care of. But in
Hmm.
the back of my mind, I was nervous that I was not going to get the pension that I thought, that this job that I remember
Hmm.
the day I was hired in my corporate job and I was 21 years old and I'm like, this is great. I have a
Yeah.
job for life. And then I'm 38 and I don't have a job for life anymore.
Yeah.
So did you
Scary.
experience any of that? And did Lockheed,
Hmm.
like, how did you get the Lockheed job?
You know, it, I found many IBMers were at Lockheed. And I've always been a good networker.
Hmm.
And when I, learned that this is when your last day is, yes, you can apply for other jobs, but this is the last day. I just connected with as many people as possible. And it just turned out that one of the gals in my network was working for Lockheed and Lockheed Martin Aeronautics, and they were hiring. And so she said, you ought to come, you ought to apply. You have an IT background with F-35, we're hiring left and right. I said,
That's
okay.
good.
Yes. It
Yeah,
was
that
all
was great.
timing. Yeah. And I got hired right away. Within a month, I had another job, and it was through my network.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
just
through,
another example of it's
mhm,
who you know,
it's who you know.
right? And who knows you.
Hmm.
Because you might not know them, but if they don't know you, then it's not as good. But it's who
Yeah.
knows you, and they knew that you were good and that they could
Hmm.
recommend you. So during
Exactly.
this time, so you were in your first marriage at this time?
I was married to Don.
Okay. And then Don died not long
Yes.
after you went to Lockheed?
Yes. Yes. He passed away actually 11 years ago, and Don died of suicide.
Oh,
And it was tragic for me. Actually, this is the first time that I'm actually talking about how he died.
oh,
It's
wow.
been, I had really kept that really close to my heart. It took me a it's layers of healing, and after
Right.
layers and layers of healing, I'm actually now able to really talk about it to you, Trish, alive on
Wow.
this broadcast. And that was life changing. I mean, at the time, he and I had another business. We had 200 acres of land, and we were raising exotic animals. And so we were feeding 400 animals at the time, and we had one ranch hand. John worked that full time along with Randy, And when he passed, now I find myself, okay, now I have this ranch to run, and I'm working for Lockheed Martin, and I'm building my practice. I'm like, okay, something has to give. Something has to give here, and I had to reprioritize my life in order to make to really take care of my animals, which basically are my children, and really take care of them and my career. And you know, Randy and Don had a dance. Randy was in a wheelchair. And so Don and Randy, they found their way to make the ranch work because they were both working at full time. Well, when Randy, was with me, he was in a wheelchair and everything worked fine until it snowed or rained, and then he couldn't maneuver his wheelchair.
Mm.
And then I
So
had to,
Randy was Don's partner?
yeah, he was our helper. He was our ranch
Okay,
hand.
so you did have someone else that
Yeah,
knew
we
what
did
they
have
were
someone else.
doing.
So
That's good.
he was my right hand.
Oh,
And it was good until like I said, it rained or it snowed, and then he couldn't get his electric wheelchair around, and I would have to take a day off every time we had a bad weather day, and it would take me all day to feed the animals.
so you were working full-time at Lockheed. You were managing your husband's business of exotic animals.
Yep.
What kind of animals are exotic animals?
Well, we had exotic birds from Australia and South America.
Ah,
We had, hundreds of them. And then we had horses and donkeys. We had a variety of peacocks, some exotic colors of peacocks,
cool.
fowl, pigs, potbelly pigs, big boars, all the, it was emus and rheas. We had an ostrich.
Holy moly, you must
It
have
was,
huge
it
property.
was an amazing experience. I will tell you that the animals taught me a lot about people. They taught me a lot about business, and especially the donkeys. They nurtured me through the process. Where they really picked up on the energy. And when I would go out, we had 50 donkeys, and I would just go out in the middle of the field and just check them out, see, check their feet out, their eyes, were they feeling well, and just to kind of make sure everybody was healthy. And they would just come around and they would just surround me, like give me this big hug. And so, yes, they really just kind of pick up on what's going on in your life, and they
Yeah.
provide. They
Yeah,
provide.
animals are amazing.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that it was comforting to have them around you after Don
Hmm.
died, right?
Yes, really a strong connection with all the animals. And I'll share this tidbit with you. One, we would always look for coyotes at night. Don would
Right.
always look for coyotes because they would kill a lot of our animals. So
Yeah.
one night he was out waiting to see if the coyotes were going to pass by the field, and he saw an animal that he thought it was a coyote, and he was about to shoot it. And then he saw the tail, and he goes, "No, this is not the tail of a coyote. This is the tail of a dog." So he stopped and he climbed up the hill where Dakota was hiding, and he brought him down. And he
Wow.
brought him down. And Dakota passed in December.
This past December?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
two
So
months
he
ago.
was a baby.
So he was a baby, and he was my last connection to
Oh,
Don.
yeah.
And that sorrow was almost the same sorrow as when Don passed.
Oh, I'm
It
so
was
sorry, Pat.
unbelievable.
Oh,
And
Pat.
yeah, I was like, whoa, it's all coming back. And even I even said the same words. I said, I just want to be happy again. I
Mm,
just want to be happy again. And I caught
yeah.
myself and I go, wow, is that such a tie between Don, Dakota, and I, of how we were a family, and how that last part of my connection and energy to Don, I let go of that in December. Yeah.
Mm. You're
Sorry.
getting lots of hugs from people who are with us on social media. Thank you,
Hey,
everybody,
Dub.
for sending some love. I can feel it. That's really great. So, Pat, that was a lot. I mean, the Don passes away. You're having a full-time job. You're also building Majestic
Mm-hmm.
coaching at that time as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did
Yes.
you bounce? Like, how did you pull up by your bootstraps, as they say,
Yeah,
and keep going?
exactly.
I would have wanted to pull the covers over my head and not get out of bed.
Yeah. I had some of those days, Trish. I'm totally honest. There were some days where I just like, "Yeah, I just want to die too. I just can't take this anymore. It's too heavy." I had to put the coaching on pause, really,
Mm,
because it was too much to handle for me to do all those three, give energy to all those three major efforts. So I put the coaching on pause, and I worked really hard with Randy to start, selling off all the animals and
hmm.
streamlining that business. And I would remind myself, just be fully present. What is it that really needs to get done right now, and just do that. Don't go in the shoulda, coulda, the past, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? Selling the ranch. What am I going to do with it now? I just had to stay fully present
Great.
to what was happening, and so you just do what's in front of you, and know that you wouldn't have been here. You're not here if you don't have the capacity to pull yourself out of the situation. I
You
have the
know,
capacity to do
yes,
this.
you do have the capacity,
Mhm,
but mustering up the courage and the
mhm,
commitment to do it is, what you just said about resilience is something that we can all learn from because, you know, things happen in life all the time. I started this broadcast saying that, when things settle down, they never settle down.
yeah.
And when I look at all of the things, you and I talked a little bit, and you also had, in the midst of all this, you had a cancer diagnosis.
I have breast cancer. Absolutely. I'm a 26-year thriver, if you will. And it really came at a point where uh, I came to realize that I was the last one on the list. That's when I was working, I was doing all the traveling. I was done, and we're working the animal business. I was involved in the community, and I just really didn't have much of a life. And then I'm the oldest of five, and so there was a lot of support that I gave to my family.
Yeah.
And I just, said, life cannot continue like this. Something has to stop. And what is the lesson in this pause for me? And in studying breast cancer through Louise Hay and how it's a mind, body, and soul dis-ease, I learned that I was overgiving.
Oh, wow.
Breast cancer is associated with overgiving.
Oh,
And
my
I'm like,
goodness.
okay, that stops. Where do I need to start saying no? And where do I need to pivot in where I'm giving my energy to, and put myself on the top of the list? And I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to heal myself. And I started studying alternative medicine. I became a Reiki practitioner, a polarity practitioner. I studied aromatherapy, healing through foods, journaling, massage, meditation. I just said, I'm going to heal myself. I can do this.
So did you, with no Western chemotherapy
No,
or
I did Western
yeah,
medicine. It was a combination,
yeah,
and way back when when you heard the diagnosis, I mean, nobody would talk about it.
right, right.
Nobody would talk about it way back when in 1996.
Yeah.
There was some shame associated with it. You're just like it was a secret. You only told certain people about it. Not like it is today, where we're really just open and honest and saying, hey, you know what, I need your support. It wasn't like that then. It
Well,
wasn't like that then.
I am obviously thrilled that you're still here. And, as you go through all of these shifts in your life, what would you, I mean, so you said staying in the moment, being right here, right now, not worrying about down the road, just doing what I can do and putting one foot in front of the other.
Yes.
What else really supported you? Obviously, you were doing some inner work at the same time as well.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what are the things that really helped you be resilient?
I would I would start with I asked myself this question every day when my feelings got so chaotic, because when you're going through that grieving process, you're up one day, you're down the other, and just being conscious of where my heart was, I would ask myself, what would I prefer? What would I
What
prefer right
would I?
now? What would I prefer? I would prefer to be in a state of joy. I would prefer to be feeling good. I would prefer to know that I see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. So I would ask myself, what would I prefer today when something would happen? And then I would live my life through intention. So I would, start up my day very grounded. Journaling was a really important aspect of it. And I would set an intention. I said, okay, so out of everything that I have planned today, what is my intention with every conversation, with taking care of the animals, with my meetings? What is my intention? And then start with the end in mind and imagine what it is I want to occur and then writing it out.
Mm.
Yeah.
A far cry from a left-brained IBMer.
Yeah. I was real intuitive when I was a child and I didn't realize it. And when you join corporate America, they teach you to be really left brain. Like, what does the data show? What do the numbers show? And you're making the okay. So we're going to make a decision based on what the numbers show. Well, after a while, I started, burying that intuition until it got to a point where I'm like, I'm not even tapping into all of who I am. And there's two sides to me here. And why am I not bringing those two in? And then I found that, working with clients who had former corporate background, that that wasn't really valued.
Mm,
That gut feel of like, even though the numbers say this, my gut says that, working with this client or whatever the case, who the situation, that this is where really we should be if we want to, move the business forward. Well, if you said that in corporate, you would lose credibility. So
absolutely.
you would just hide it and you would just go forward because this is what's going to sell. This is what's going to make the decision. And then as we move forward in our business, we realize that that's not really the way you run a business.
Yeah.
Can't be.
Well, it can't be. There's got to be, you have to take in your intuition as well and trust
Absolutely.
it and trust it. That's the
Mhm.
other thing. I can so relate to what you're saying because it was all, move forward, get it done. And when I moved out of that environment, I really had to develop the other side.
Mhm.
And I'm sure other people who were in corporate can relate to that. On the other hand, people who were never in corporate don't have the value of that. Like
Yes.
that data-driven understanding, the numbers, that's such an important part of business.
Yeah.
And it goes so hand in hand with your
Mhm.
intuition. You can't lean on one without the other. You've got to have them both. So, yeah, that's a
Totally
great
agree.
point. So when you work with your clients at Majestic, that's one of the things you work through. I know you do human design for business. Can you share a
Yes,
little bit about that?
I do. So, human design for business is an assessment and a system that is a combination of Myers Briggs,
Hmm.
astrology, and genetics. And it's based on your birthday, time, and location. And it's a discovery of what makes you tick. For those who are in tech, it's your user's guide. Basically, it's your user's guide. This is how you're meant to show up, be, how you're meant to do business, how you're meant to make decisions. And it's the foundation of how I work with women because everybody's different. And so I work with them with their specific blueprint on how to grow their business.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I saw a statistic on your website actually that said 80%. Well, if you think about the statistic that 50% of businesses fail in the first year,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
80% of women owned businesses um, launch and succeed when they have a mentor. So having a
Absolutely.
mentor like you that can take the left and the right brain and bring it all together is a real
Yes,
plus
it
for all
really
of us. Tell
is.
me about Catherine's quest.
So Catherine's
Tell me
quest
about
went.
Catherine's
Yeah.
quest. That was,
Mhm.
go ahead.
Catherine's quest, one woman's journey to elation, is my bestseller. Came out in September. It's going now in 2 years, and the book is on self leadership, and it's about
Mm,
resilience. And I took all the lessons of my uh, tragedies, I guess you could say, my so specific emotional moments, and I said, look, this is what I learned. This is what it took me to be resilient and to lead myself. And I'm going to share with you what it takes to get there. And if you'll just follow me on this journey through Catherine's eyes, who loses her job, her home, her marriage, and how she picks up herself from her bootstraps and going through that journey through practices and reflective questions and how to unravel your day to learn and self-care routines. And so I take a woman through that journey, and in 90 pages you're a different
be-
person.
beautiful. Can I
You're a
get that at
different person.
your website? And is
Yes, you
that
can go to my
Amazon
website.
as well?
Absolutely. Catherine's Quest, one woman's journey to elation.
Beautiful. I'm so happy for where you are in your life right now. You're remarried.
Yes.
Life is good.
Life is good. I'm very happy. Don was an IBMer, and I shared with you earlier that my husband Mitch, who's sitting with me across the table, is also an IBMer, and so life is really good. We're really
You know,
happy.
birds of a feather flock together, they
I
say.
know, I know. We're having a lot of fun traveling. That's really our passion, exploring, and we're actually taking a cruise to Greece, and so we're really excited about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
we're excited about
Beautiful. Well, you have been through it, sister, and you are out on the other side, and
that. Yes,
life is good.
life
And
is good.
even when you were going through it, you found your internal voice to keep you
Mhm.
moving, to keep you straight, to keep you going. And I know you were also surrounded by people who love you to support you along the
Absolutely.
way. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Pat, for sharing your story, especially for your first time talking about Don's
Mhm.
suicide. You know, when we have conversation like this, it just turns a light bulb for someone.
Mhm.
And the fact that you have the courage that you had multiple times in your life, and here you are still standing. Brava, sister. Brava. I'm so happy for
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate you.
Thank you all. Thank you, first of all, Pat, for being with us and for sharing your story. Thank you all for watching and sharing, because if Pat's story makes a difference, just a small difference for you or for someone you know, it's worth the 20 minutes that we've spent listening to this amazing woman. Thank you, Pat Alva
Thank
Craker. I
you.
appreciate you so much. Thank
Appreciate
you
you.
all for being a part of Women's Prosperity Network and for making the difference you all are making in this world, as is Pat. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you again next time on another episode of Be Real, Get Real.